The sky above Nova Prime burned red and orange. Fire fell from the heavens like rain. Empress Valira stood at the tall window of her palace, her four eyes wide with horror. She had ruled the Novan Empire for 200 years. She had seen wars. She had seen death. But she had never seen anything like this. The Keth Dominion had come without warning. Their black warships filled the sky like a swarm of hungry insects. The planetary shields, which had protected Nova Prime for 1,000 years, fell in less than an hour. Now the enemy was everywhere. "Your Majesty, we must go," said her guard captain. His voice was tight with fear. "The escape shuttles are waiting." Valira did not move. Her eyes searched the burning city below. Somewhere down there, her daughters were supposed to be at their morning lessons. The twins, Lyra and Mira, were only 8 years old in human counting. They were so young, so small. "My children," Valera whispered. "Where are my children?" "The royal guards are bringing them to Shuttle Bay 7, Your Majesty. They will meet us there." Valera finally turned from the window. Her silver robes flowed behind her as she walked. Even now, even in this moment of terror, she moved like an empress. She had to be strong. Her people needed to see strength. The palace shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Somewhere close, something exploded. The lights flickered and died, then came back in emergency red. "We must hurry," the guard captain said. They ran through the ancient halls. Paintings of old emperors watched them pass. Statues of heroes stood silent. All of this history, Valira thought, all of this beauty, the Keth would burn it all. They reached Shuttle Bay 7. 3 sleek silver ships waited there, their engines already warm. Soldiers and servants rushed about, loading supplies and helping the wounded. But Valira saw only one thing. The shuttle meant for her daughters was empty. "Where are they?" Her voice cut through the noise like a blade. Everyone stopped. Everyone looked at her. A young officer stepped forward. His face was pale. His hands were shaking. Valira knew, even before he spoke, that he carried terrible news. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice broke. "The Eastern Wing. There was a direct hit. The princesses were being moved through the garden corridor when..." "When what?" Valira grabbed him by his uniform. She was tall, even for a Novan. She lifted him off his feet. "Tell me." "The corridor collapsed. We lost contact with the guards. We sent a team, but..." He could not finish. "But what?" "The Keth ground forces reached that area first. There were no survivors." Valira dropped him. She stepped back. The world seemed to tilt around her. No, this could not be true. Her daughters could not be gone. They were just children. They were her children. "Your Majesty, we have to leave now." The guard captain was at her side. His voice was gentle but firm. "More ships are coming. If we don't go..." "I will not leave them. They are gone, Your Majesty." The captain's eyes were wet. He had known the princesses since they were born. "They are gone, and if you die here, the Empire dies with you. Your people need you. Please." A massive explosion rocked the shuttle bay. Part of the ceiling fell. Soldiers screamed. Fire spread across the floor. The guard captain and 2 other soldiers grabbed Valira. She fought them. She screamed. She called for her daughters. But they were stronger, and they dragged her onto the shuttle. The doors closed. The engines roared. And then they were flying up through the smoke and fire, away from Nova Prime. Valira pressed her face against the window. Below her, her world burned. And somewhere in that fire, she believed, lay the bodies of her only children. She did not cry. She could not cry. Something inside her had frozen. Something had died. She sat in silence as the shuttle joined the fleeing fleet. She sat in silence as they jumped away to safety. She sat in silence as her advisors spoke of war plans and revenge. The Empress Valira, mother of Lyra and Mira, was gone. In her place sat something cold, something hard. Something that wanted only one thing, to make the Keth pay for what they had taken. But the reports were wrong. Deep in the ruined city, beneath the collapsed garden corridor, 2 small figures huddled together in the darkness. Lyra and Mira were alive. They were hurt and scared and covered in dust. But they were alive. The explosion had thrown them into a basement storage room. Their guards had not been so lucky. The twins had seen terrible things in the last few hours. Things that children should never see. But they had each other, and that was enough to keep them from giving up. Mira, are you okay? Lyra whispered. She was the older twin, older by only 4 minutes, but she took that responsibility seriously. My arm hurts, Mira replied. Her voice was small and weak. And I'm scared. Me too. Lyra put her arm around her sister. But Mother will send someone. She will find us. We just have to wait. Above them, they could hear sounds, boots on broken stone, strange voices speaking in a harsh, ugly language. The Keth. They were searching the ruins. They were looking for survivors. We have to be quiet, Lyra said. Very, very quiet. The twins pressed themselves into the darkest corner of the room. They held their breath. They could hear the Keth soldiers getting closer. Lyra could see light from their torches flickering through the cracks in the debris above them. Check everywhere, a Keth voice commanded. The Emperor wants prisoners. Royal blood would be a fine prize. Lyra felt Mira shaking against her. She wanted to shake too. She wanted to cry. But she was the older sister. She had to be brave. The footsteps came closer. Dust fell from above as someone walked over their hiding spot. Lyra closed her eyes and prayed to the old gods of Nova. Please, she begged, please send someone to help us. The Keth soldiers moved on. For now they had not found the entrance to the basement, but they would come back. They would search again, and next time, the twins might not be so lucky. Somewhere far away, their mother flew toward safety, believing them dead. The Novan fleet scattered into the darkness of space, broken and defeated. Nova Prime fell completely under Keth control. But in the darkness beneath the burning city, two small princesses held each other and waited for a rescue that they feared would never come. They did not know that help was near. They did not know that a human soldier, a man from a distant world, was already fighting his way toward them. His name was Kang Taeho, and he was about to change everything. Sergeant Kang Taeho wiped the blood from his face and checked his rifle. The weapon was old and scratched, but it still worked. That was all that mattered now. Around him, the ruins of Nova Prime stretched in every direction. Buildings that once touched the sky now lay in piles of broken stone. Streets that once held millions of Novans were empty and silent. The only sounds were distant explosions and the occasional scream. Taeho and his squad were not supposed to be here. The human forces had been ordered to retreat 2 days ago. Most had obeyed, but Taeho's squad had found something that changed everything. Survivors. Hundreds of Novan civilians hiding in the subway tunnels beneath the city. Old people, children, families too weak or too scared to escape on their own. We can't leave them, Taeho had said when the retreat order came. We have to, his commanding officer had replied through the radio. That's an order, Sergeant. Taeho had looked at the frightened faces around him. A mother holding her baby, a grandfather with shaking hands, children with wide, terrified eyes. He turned off his radio. Now, 3 days later, Taeho and what remained of his squad were still fighting. They had lost 4 soldiers. Only 6 remained, including Taeho and his best friend, Park Ji-hoon. But they had saved over 200 civilians and guided them to safer hiding spots. Taeho! Ji-hoon crawled up beside him. Scouts say there's a group of Keth moving through the eastern district. Maybe 30 soldiers. The palace ruins? Yeah. They're searching every building. Looks like they're hunting for someone important. Taeho thought about this. The eastern district was dangerous. It was deep in enemy territory. But if the Keth were searching so hard, maybe there were more survivors there. Maybe there were people who needed help. I'll check it out, Taeho said. Alone? That's crazy. Someone has to stay with the civilians. That's you. Taeho put his hand on Ji-hoon's shoulder. If I'm not back by dawn, take everyone to the extraction point. Don't wait for me. Ji-hoon wanted to argue. Taeho could see it in his eyes. But they had been friends for 10 years. Ji-hoon knew that once Taeho made a decision, nothing could change his mind. Don't die, Ji-hoon said simply. I'll try. Taeho moved through the ruins like a ghost. He had fought in many wars on many worlds. He knew how to be invisible. He knew how to kill without sound. The Keth soldiers never saw him pass. He reached the palace gardens just as the sun was setting. The once beautiful gardens were now a wasteland of craters and broken trees. The palace itself was mostly destroyed. Only a few walls still stood. Tai-ho was about to turn back when he heard something. A small sound. A whimper. It came from beneath a pile of rubble near what used to be a corridor. He moved closer, his rifle ready. It could be a trap. The Keth sometimes used recordings to lure soldiers into ambushes. But something told Tai-ho this was different. Something told him to keep looking. He found a small hole in the debris. He shined his light inside and saw two faces looking back at him. They were children, alien children, with the distinctive gray-blue skin and four eyes of the Novan species. They were covered in dust and dirt. One of them was holding her arm in a way that suggested it was broken. Both of them looked absolutely terrified. Tai-ho put away his rifle. He held up his empty hands to show he meant no harm. Then he pointed to himself. Tai-ho, he said slowly. My name is Tai-ho. I'm here to help. The children did not understand. Their translator devices, small things worn around the neck, were cracked and dark. But they understood his tone. They understood his gentle face. After a moment, the older one nodded. Getting them out was not easy. Tai-ho had to move heavy stones one by one, careful not to cause a collapse. It took almost an hour. When he finally pulled the second child free, he heard voices nearby. Keth voices. Someone's been here, a Keth soldier said. Look at these moved stones. Tai-ho grabbed the children and ran. He could not run fast while carrying two injured kids. The Keth gained on them quickly. Tai-ho ducked into a ruined building and pressed himself against a wall. The children clung to him, shaking. 3 Keth soldiers entered the building. They were big, ugly creatures with gray skin and too many teeth. They carried weapons that could cut a human in half with one shot. Tai-ho put the children down behind a broken wall. He looked into their eyes. He put his finger to his lips. Be quiet. Then he turned and walked toward the enemy. The first Keth died before he knew Tai-ho was there. The human moved faster than the aliens could react. His knife found the gaps in their armor. His hands found their throats. It was over in seconds. Tai-ho stood among the bodies, breathing hard. His hands were covered in alien blood. He turned back to the children. They were staring at him with a new expression. Not fear, something else. Wonder, maybe. They had heard stories about humans, scary stories. Stories about a violent species from a small planet who fought like demons. But they had never seen one fight until now. This human had killed 3 soldiers in the time it took to blink. And then he turned to them with soft eyes and a gentle voice. It's okay, Tai-ho said, even though they couldn't understand his words. You're safe now. He picked up the smaller one, the one with the hurt arm, and held out his hand to the older one. After a moment, she took it. Tai-ho led them into the night. He did not know who they were. He did not know that he was holding the hands of princesses, the daughters of an empress who believed them dead. All he knew was that they were children, alone and afraid, and they needed someone to protect them. Later, when he contacted Jae-hoon on the radio, his friend was not happy. You found what? Alien kids? Tai-ho, we can barely feed ourselves. We're behind enemy lines. How are we supposed to? We protect them, Tai-ho said. That's what we do. That's what makes us human. There was a long silence. Then Ji-hoon sighed. Fine, bring them in. But you're explaining this to the captain. Tai-ho looked down at the 2 children. The older one had fallen asleep against his shoulder. The younger one was watching him with curious eyes. Come on, he said softly. Let's get you somewhere safe. He carried them through the darkness, toward his hidden base, toward an uncertain future. The war raged around them. Death was everywhere. But for this moment at least, 2 small lives had been saved, and Kang Tai-ho would die before he let anyone hurt them again. 5 days had passed since Tai-ho found the children. 5 days of hiding, running, and fighting. 5 days of slowly learning to understand each other. The twins had names now. Tai-ho had learned them through a game of pointing and sounds. The older one was Lyra, the younger one was Mira. They were sisters, that much was clear. The way they held hands, the way they looked at each other, the way they moved as one. These were not just siblings. These were 2 halves of the same heart. Tai-ho's squad had accepted the children without much complaint. Soldiers who had seen too much death were often gentle with the young. Private Kim Yuna, the team's medic, had fixed Mira's broken arm with the last of her supplies. Corporal Lee Do-yun, a big man with a scary face, had become the girls' favorite. He made them laugh with funny gestures and silly walks. But the journey ahead was long and dangerous. The last Alliance extraction point was 200 kilometers away. They had to cross mountains, rivers, in enemy territory to reach it. And they had to do it with limited food, little water, and two children who could not walk very fast. "We should leave at night," Ji-hoon said during their planning meeting. "Move when it's dark, hide during the day." "The kids can't see well in the dark," Tai-ho replied. "Their species needs more light than we do." "Then we carry them," Tai-ho nodded. "We carry them." They left that night. The soldiers took turns carrying Lyra and Mira on their backs. The children were light, but the journey was hard. The ground was rough. The air was cold. Every few hours they had to stop and hide as Keith patrols passed by. On the third night of walking, they ran out of food. Tai-ho gathered his squad in a small cave. "We have water for 2 more days," he said. "No food. We need to find some." "There's a Keth supply camp 5 kilometers west," said Private Beck Suji, their scout. "Small. Maybe 10 soldiers guarding it." "Too risky," Ji-hoon said. "We have the kids to think about." "The kids need to eat." Tai-ho looked at Lyra and Mira. They were sitting together watching the adults talk. They had not complained once about hunger. Not once. They were so brave, these little ones. Braver than many soldiers Tai-ho had known. He made a decision. "I'll go alone. Fast and quiet. In and out." "I'm coming with you," Ji-hoon said. "No. Stay with them. Protect them." Tai-ho, "That's an order?" Tai-ho left before anyone could argue. He returned 4 hours later, carrying a bag full of Keth food supplies. He was bleeding from a cut on his head and limping slightly, but he was smiling. "Dinner is served," he said. The Keth food was strange. Purple vegetables, blue meat, things that looked like rocks but tasted like bread. The soldiers ate carefully, unsure what was safe for humans. But Lyra and Mira ate happily. This was food from their world. This was a taste of home. Tai-ho watched them eat. He had not taken any food for himself. When Mira noticed, she walked over and held out a piece of the blue meat. "For you," she said in broken standard. It was the first time she had spoken to him in his language. The translator must be slowly repairing itself. Tai-ho's eyes went wide. Then he smiled, the biggest smile anyone had seen from him in weeks. He took the meat and ate it in one bite. "Thank you, Mira." After that night, something changed. The twins stopped being afraid of the humans. They became part of the squad. Lyra started learning military hand signals. She would copy Tai-ho's gestures, her small hands making the same shapes as his big ones. Mira started drawing pictures. She drew the soldiers, the landscape, the stars. She gave her drawings to whichever human seemed sad that day. One night while they rested in an abandoned factory, Lyra sat beside Tai-ho and asked a question. "Why help us?" Tai-ho looked at her. The translator was working better now. "What do you mean? We are not your species. We are not your people. You could leave us. You could be safe. Why help?" It was a good question. Tai-ho had asked himself the same thing many times. He thought about his answer carefully. "I had a sister," he said finally. "Her name was Yunji. She was younger than me. When our world was attacked many years ago, she was alone and scared. Someone should have helped her. No one did. She died." Lyra was quiet. Then she said, "I am sorry." "Me too." Tai-ho looked up at the broken ceiling, at the stars beyond. "I cannot save her, but I can save you. Maybe that's why I help. Maybe that's the only way I know to make peace with what happened." "You are good," Lyra said simply. "Humans are not what I thought." "What did you think?" "Stories say humans are dangerous, violent, scary." Tai-ho laughed softly. "We are all those things, but we are other things too. We are kind. We are loyal. We protect the weak. At least the best of us try to." The next day, a message came through on the radio. Captain Yoon Sora, who commanded the human forces in this sector, was not happy. "Sergeant Kang, I have reports that you are slowing our evacuation for non-essential alien civilians. Explain yourself." Tai-ho looked at Lyra and Mira. They were playing with Corporal Lee, trying to braid his short hair. They were laughing. It was the first time he had heard them laugh. All civilians are essential, Taiho said into the radio. That's what makes us human. There was a long silence. When Captain Sora spoke again, her voice was different, softer. Understood, Sergeant. Good luck. Sora out. Jihun walked over and stood beside Taiho. You know that's going to be on the record. High Command won't be happy. Let them be unhappy. You could lose your rank. Taiho shrugged. Some things matter more than rank. That night, as the squad prepared to move again, Mira came to Taiho with a new drawing. It showed a tall figure with 2 arms and 2 legs, a human. The human was holding hands with 2 smaller figures with 4 eyes, the twins. Above them, Mira had drawn a star. Family, Mira said, pointing to the drawing. Taiho took the drawing carefully. He folded it and put it in his pocket, close to his heart. Family, he agreed. They walked on through the night, through the danger and the darkness. The extraction point was still far away. The enemy was everywhere, but they walked together, human and alien, soldier and child. They walked as family, and somewhere in the stars, an Empress grieved for children she believed were dead. She did not know that her daughters were alive. She did not know that they were being protected by the most dangerous and most caring species in the galaxy. But she would find out soon, and when she did, everything would change. The Novan war fleet hid in the darkness between stars. 200 ships, once the pride of a great empire, now floated like wounded animals in the cold of space. They had lost their home. They had lost their capital. They had lost their hope. And Empress Valira had lost her soul. She sat alone in her command chamber, staring at nothing. The room was cold and dark, the way she preferred it now. She had not eaten in 3 days. She had not slept in longer. The only thing that kept her moving was hate. Her advisors whispered about her behind closed doors. They said she had changed. They said she had become cruel. They said the warm, wise Empress they once loved was gone, replaced by something hard and bitter. They were right. Your Majesty, General Torak entered the chamber and bowed. He was old and scarred, a veteran of many wars. He had served 3 generations of Novan rulers. He had never been afraid of any of them, until now. The council is waiting. Let them wait. We must plan our next move. The Keth are... I know what the Keth are doing. Valira's voice was like ice. They are celebrating. They are dancing on the graves of my people. They are burning what remains of our world. I know. Torak hesitated. Your Majesty, the Council believes we should retreat to the outer territories, rebuild our strength, wait for the right moment to... Wait? Valira finally looked at him. Her 4 eyes burned with cold fire. My daughters are dead. My world is gone. You want me to wait? Revenge without strategy is just suicide. The Keth are too strong. We need time. Valera stood. She was tall, taller than most Novans, and when she walked toward Torak, he had to fight the urge to step back. Time, she repeated. Do you know what I think about time, General? I think about how I wasted it. All those meetings, all those ceremonies, all those hours spent on politics when I should have been with my children. And now they are gone, and all the time in the universe cannot bring them back. Torak lowered his eyes. I am sorry, Your Majesty. Truly, your sorrow means nothing. Only victory means anything now. She walked past him toward the council chamber. Her silver robes, once bright and beautiful, were now dull and gray. She had not allowed anyone to clean them. She wore her grief like armor. The council meeting was short and brutal. Valira rejected every suggestion for retreat or negotiation. She demanded aggressive action. She wanted to hurt the Keth, even if it cost Novan lives. The council members looked at each other with worried eyes but said nothing. They were too afraid. After the meeting, General Torak approached her again. This time he carried a data tablet. Your Majesty, there is something you should see. More bad news? I am not sure. Torak handed her the tablet. Our spies have been sending reports from Nova Prime. Most are what you would expect. Death, destruction, occupation. But this, he pointed to a specific report. This is strange. Valira read the report. It described a small unit of human soldiers who had stayed behind after the retreat order. These humans were operating in the ruins, rescuing civilian survivors and hiding them from Keth patrols. Humans? Valera shook her head. Impossible. Humans care only about themselves. Everyone knows this. That is what I thought. But the reports keep coming. Multiple sources confirm it. A human sergeant named Kang Tai-ho is leading the effort. He has saved over 200 of our people. Valera put down the tablet. It must be propaganda. The humans want something from us. This is a trick to gain our favor. Perhaps, Torak said. Or perhaps we do not know humans as well as we think we do. Valera said nothing. She did not want to think about this. She did not want to feel anything except anger. Hope was dangerous. Hope had hurt her too many times. But 2 days later, something happened that broke through her frozen heart. A Novan spy drone, damaged and barely functioning, transmitted one final video before it died. The video was blurry and dark. It showed a ruined street somewhere in the capital city. Keth soldiers were marching past in the distance. And in the foreground, moving quickly between broken buildings, was a tall figure carrying something on his back. The figure was human. The body shape was unmistakable. And on his back, clinging to him tightly, were two small shapes. The spy drone's computer had automatically scanned the small shapes. It had detected their biosignatures. And those biosignatures matched two entries in the royal database. Princess Lyra, Princess Mira. Valera watched the video 17 times. She froze the image of the small shapes and zoomed in until the picture fell apart into colored dots. She ran the biosignature scan again and again. Each time the result was the same. Her daughters were alive. This could be a mistake, Torak said carefully. The drone was damaged. The scan could be wrong. Or it could be right. Valera's voice shook. For the first time in weeks, something other than anger moved through her. It felt like fire. It felt like fear. It felt like hope. Even if it is right, a rescue mission is impossible. Nova Prime is heavily occupied. We would lose half our fleet. I do not care. Your Majesty, please think. If the princesses are truly alive, the human is protecting them. He has kept them safe this long. Let him continue. Let us plan carefully. A failed rescue would only put them in more danger. Valera wanted to scream. She wanted to fly to Nova Prime herself and tear through the Keth with her bare hands. But somewhere beneath the grief and the rage, the old Valera still existed. The wise Valera. The patient Valera. She hated that part of herself, but she listened to it. We watch, she said finally. We send more drones. We gather information. But the moment I know where my daughters are, the moment I know they can be saved, she looked at Torak with eyes that burned like suns. I will bring the fury of a mother upon the Keth, and no force in this galaxy will stop me. Torak bowed. Yes, Your Majesty. That night, alone in her chamber, Valera allowed herself to do something she had not done since the invasion. She cried. She cried for her daughters, alive and fighting to survive. She cried for the human stranger who protected them. She cried for herself, for the mother she had been, and the monster she was becoming. And she made a promise to the stars. I will find you, she whispered. Lyra, Mira, my heart, my soul, I will find you, and I will never let you go again. Somewhere far away, on a burning world, a human soldier carried two sleeping princesses through the night. He did not know an Empress was watching. He did not know that an entire war was about to change because of him. He only knew that two children needed him, and that was enough. They reached the extraction point on the 12th day. Taeho's squad had walked through mountains and valleys, through rain and fire, through enemy territory that should have killed them 10 times over. They had lost 2 more soldiers along the way. Only 4 remained: Taeho, Ji-hoon, Yuna the medic, and Do-hyun, the big man with a gentle heart. But they had made it. They had survived. And then they saw the extraction point, and their hope died. The small valley where Alliance ships were supposed to land was filled with Keth soldiers. Hundreds of them. Tanks, weapons, fortified positions. The enemy had known about the extraction point. They had turned it into a trap. No, Ji-hoon whispered. No, no, no. Taeho said nothing. He just stared at the valley through his scope, counting enemies, measuring distances, looking for any possible way through. There was none. Behind him, Lyra and Mira sat with Yuna. The children were exhausted. Their feet were covered in blisters. They had not complained once during the entire journey. Not once. They trusted the humans completely now. They believed the humans would save them. Taiho could not let them down. "We fall back," he said. "Find another hiding spot. Radio for help." They retreated to a small cave in the mountains above the valley. It was cold and dark, but it was hidden, safe for now. Taiho turned on the radio and tried to reach Captain Sora. The signal was weak, but after several minutes, her voice crackled through. "Sergeant Kang? You're alive?" "Still here, Captain, but we have a problem. The extraction point is compromised. Keth forces have it locked down." Silence. Then, "That's the only extraction point for 200 kilometers. We can't send ships anywhere else." "I know. How many civilians do you have?" Taiho looked at his small group. 4 soldiers, 2 children. 6 total, including 2 Novan children. "Kang, I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do. High Command won't authorize a rescue mission for 6 people, especially not for non-human civilians." Taiho felt something cold in his stomach. "Captain, I'm sorry," Sora repeated. "I truly am. But the war is bigger than any of us. Find somewhere to hide. Maybe when things calm down." "Things won't calm down." Taiho looked at Lyra and Mira. Mira had fallen asleep against Lyra's shoulder. Lyra was watching him with those 4 eyes that seemed to see everything. "Captain, there's something you should know about these children." "What about them?" Taiho had learned the truth 3 days ago, when the translators finally worked well enough for real conversation. He had asked the girls about their family, and they had told him. Their mother was not just some noble or official. Their mother was the Empress herself. He was carrying the heirs to the Novan throne. He had told no one. He had not wanted to create panic or hope. But now, with no other options, the truth was his only weapon. "These children are Princesses Lyra and Mira," Taiho said. "Daughters of Empress Valera. The Novan Empire thinks they're dead. They're not. They're here with me." The silence that followed was the longest of Taiho's life. Then Sora spoke again, and her voice was different, harder, more determined. "Repeat that, Sergeant." "You heard me, Captain. I have the Novan princesses. They've been with me for 12 days. They're scared and tired and hurt, but they're alive, and I'm not going to let them die." More silence. Then, "Stay where you are. Don't move. I'm going to make some calls." The radio went dead. 2 hours later, everything changed. Keth scouts found their hiding spot. Maybe they had tracked them. Maybe it was just bad luck. Either way, Taiho heard the enemy soldiers approaching before he saw them. "Contact," he whispered. "Everyone move." They ran. But the Keth were faster. Shots rang out in the darkness. Do-Yun went down first, hit in the leg. Yuna dragged him behind a rock while Taiho and Ji-Hoon returned fire. "Go!" Taiho shouted at Lyra. "Take your sister and run. Follow the stream downhill." "I won't leave you," Lyra shouted back. "You have to. Your mother needs you alive. Go!" Lyra hesitated for one terrible moment. Then she grabbed Mira and ran into the darkness. The firefight lasted 10 minutes. It felt like 10 years. When it was over, 4 Keith soldiers were dead, but Ji-Hoon was badly wounded. A shot had gone through his side, missing his organs by centimeters. "You need to go," Ji-Hoon said. His face was pale. His breathing was shallow. "Find the kids. Get them out." "I'm not leaving you." "Taiho." Ji-Hoon grabbed his arm. "This is what we signed up for. Protecting people, remember? That's what makes us human." Taiho wanted to argue, but he heard more Keth approaching. He heard Mira screaming somewhere in the darkness. He had to make a choice. He chose. "Yuna, Do-Yun, stay with Ji-Hoon. Keep him alive." Taiho checked his weapon. "I'm going to get the kids." He ran into the night. He followed the sound of Mira's voice. He found them cornered by a small stream, 3 Keth soldiers closing in on them. He killed the soldiers without hesitation, without mercy. When it was over, he held the children close. Mira was crying. Lyra was shaking. But they were alive. "I've got you," Taiho whispered. "I've got you." His radio crackled. Captain Sora's voice came through, clearer than before. "Sergeant Kang, this is Sora. I've contacted every human ship in the sector. I've told them what you're doing. I've told them who you're protecting. And, and they're coming. All of them. 12 ships against my direct orders. They're coming to get you. Taiho closed his eyes. He felt something warm spread through his chest. Pride, maybe, or gratitude. Why? He asked. Because you reminded them why we fight. Sora's voice cracked slightly. You reminded them what it means to be human. Hold on, Sergeant. Help is coming. The Keth detected the approaching human ships within the hour. They mobilized their forces, prepared to destroy the tiny rescue fleet. They thought they had an easy victory. They were wrong. Because Taiho had started something. His simple act of kindness, his stubborn refusal to abandon 2 children, had sparked something that spread like fire through the stars. Humans heard about what he was doing. They heard about the princesses. They heard his message, broadcast across all frequencies. Their children, that's enough reason. And one by one, they decided that some things mattered more than orders, more than safety, more than survival. They decided to be human. The battle for Nova Prime was about to begin. And this time, the Keth would face more than just soldiers. They would face the fury of a species that had decided, together, that 2 alien children were worth dying for. Empress Valera was in the war room when the transmission arrived. She was surrounded by generals and admirals, planning a careful, cautious campaign. They spoke of retreat positions and supply lines and acceptable losses. They spoke like people who had already accepted defeat. Then the communication officer interrupted them. Your Majesty, we are receiving a broadcast. Human military frequency. It mentions the princesses. Valera's heart stopped. The broadcast played. A human voice, tired and determined, spoke across the stars. This is Sergeant Kang Taeho of the Galactic Alliance Human Forces. I am currently on Nova Prime with Princesses Lyra and Mira, daughters of Empress Valera. They are alive. They are with me. I will protect them with my life. If anyone can hear this, we need help. The extraction point is compromised. We are surrounded by enemy forces. The voice paused. When it continued, it was softer. I know this might be the last message I ever send, but I want you all to know something. These children trusted me. They trusted humans. They believed we would keep them safe, and I intend to keep that promise even if it kills me, because that's what we do. That's what humans do. Another pause, then, they're children. That's enough reason. The transmission ended. The war room was silent. Every eye turned to the Empress. She stood frozen, her face unreadable. Then slowly something changed. The coldness in her eyes melted. The hardness in her jaw softened. Tears ran down her face, but she did not look weak. She looked awake. She looked alive. Your Majesty, General Torak said carefully. What are your orders? Valera wiped her eyes. When she spoke, her voice was the strongest it had been since the invasion. Open a channel to the entire fleet. Every ship. Every soldier. The communication officer hesitated. Your Majesty, the Keth might intercept. Let them. Valera walked to the command platform. Let them hear what comes next. The channel opened. Valera's face appeared on every screen in the Novan fleet. Soldiers stopped what they were doing. Officers stood at attention. Everyone listened. My people, Valera began. You know me. You know my grief. For weeks I have led you in anger. I have pushed you toward revenge. I have been a broken thing, leading other broken things into darkness. She paused. But today I learned something that changed everything. My daughters are alive. Lyra and Mira, my heart, my soul, my reason for living. They survived the invasion. And they survived because of a human. Murmurs spread through the ships. Humans? The violent, selfish species from the small planet? Yes, Valera continued, as if she could hear their thoughts. A human. A man named Kang Taiho. He found my children in the ruins of our world. He protected them when no one else could. He carried them on his back across a war zone. He fought for them. He bled for them. And now he is ready to die for them. Her voice rose. This human has no connection to our empire. He gains nothing from saving Novan children. Yet he does it anyway. Why? He told us himself. Because they are children. Because that is enough reason. Valira let those words hang in the air. If a human, a member of a species we once feared, once dismissed, can show such honor, such courage, such love for strangers, then what excuse do we have for cowardice? What excuse do we have for hiding in the dark while brave souls fight alone? She raised her fist. I am done hiding. I am done planning. I am done being afraid. My daughters are alive, and a human is fighting to save them. Today we join him. Today we show the Keth what happens when they threaten our children. Today the Novan Empire remembers who we are. The war room erupted in cheers. On ships throughout the fleet, soldiers shouted and raised their weapons. Something had changed. Something had awakened. The broken, defeated Novan forces were suddenly burning with purpose. General Torak stepped forward. Your Majesty, the Keth control Nova Prime with overwhelming force. We cannot, Valera turned to him. Cannot. Watch me. She activated the fleet command system. All ships, decloak. Set course for Nova Prime. Maximum speed. 200 Novan warships appeared from the darkness of space. Their engines blazed with blue fire. They began to move, and they were not alone. The human ships, 12 brave vessels that had defied orders to rescue a single soldier, saw the Novan fleet arriving. Captain Sora's voice came over the combined frequency. Novan forces, this is Captain Yoon Sora of the human fleet. We're glad you could join us. Valera smiled, the first smile in weeks. Captain Sora, thank you for keeping my children's protector alive. We are in your debt. No debt, Your Majesty. We humans protect our own, and your sergeant has made those kids one of ours. Other ships began appearing, alliance vessels from a dozen different species. Word had spread. News of the human soldier protecting alien princesses had traveled across the stars, and people had responded. A Thorin battleship, a Velkin carrier, a squadron of Rillian fighters, ships that had no political stake in the Novan Empire, crewed by beings who had no personal connection to the princesses. They came anyway. Why? Valera asked, looking at the growing fleet on her tactical display. Captain Sora answered, because when one person stands up for what's right, others follow. Your sergeant started something, Your Majesty. He reminded the galaxy what courage looks like. The combined fleet jumped toward Nova Prime. On the planet below, Tai-Ho heard the news through his crackling radio. He looked up at the sky, where distant flashes of light told him that ships were arriving. He was hiding in a collapsed building with Lyra and Mira. He had 3 bullets left. His body was covered in wounds. He could barely stand, but he stood anyway. They're coming, he told the children. Help is coming. Lyra looked at him with worried eyes. You're hurt. I'm fine. You're lying. Tai-Ho laughed. It hurt his ribs, but he laughed anyway. Yeah, I'm lying, but that's okay. My job isn't to be fine. My job is to keep you safe until your mother gets here. Mira clutched his hand. You promise? Tai-Ho squeezed her small fingers. I promise. Outside, Keth forces were closing in. They knew where he was now. They knew who he was protecting. The Keth commander had sent 200 soldiers to capture the princesses. They would arrive within minutes. Tai-Ho checked his rifle. 3 bullets, 2 children, 200 enemies. He had faced worse odds before. Actually, no, he hadn't. This was definitely the worst odds he had ever faced. But that didn't matter. Nothing mattered except keeping his promise. He positioned himself between the children and the door. He raised his weapon. He waited. Above him, the sky began to burn as the combined fleet entered the atmosphere. The mother was coming for her children, and heaven help anyone who stood in her way. The door exploded inward. Tai-Ho fired 3 times. 3 Keth soldiers fell. Then his rifle clicked empty. More soldiers poured through the opening. Tai-Ho dropped his useless gun and drew his knife. He had no chance. He knew he had no chance. But he stood in front of Lyra and Mira anyway, blade raised, ready to die on his feet. Stay behind me, he said to the children. His voice was calm, almost peaceful. The first Keth reached him. Tai-Ho's knife found its throat. The second Keth hit him in the side with a shock baton. Pain exploded through his body. He fell to one knee. He forced himself back up. The third Keth raised its weapon to finish him. And then the ceiling disappeared. A Novan assault ship hovered above the building, its weapons tearing through walls and soldiers alike. Troops rappelled down through the smoke and fire. Novan Special Forces, the elite of the elite. They moved like ghosts, killing every Keth in seconds. A soldier reached Taiho. The human was still standing, still holding his knife, still between the enemy and the children. He was bleeding from 17 different wounds. His left arm hung useless at his side. His face was pale as snow. "Sergeant Kang," the soldier asked, "are you the human?" Taiho blinked. "The children are safe. We have them. You can rest now." Taiho looked back. Lyra and Mira were being carefully lifted toward the assault ship. They were crying, reaching for him, calling his name. He tried to smile. He tried to wave. Then his legs gave out and the world went dark. He woke 3 weeks later in a Novan medical bay. The room was beautiful. Soft light came from the walls. The bed was more comfortable than anything he had ever felt. Medical machines hummed quietly, doing their work on his broken body. He tried to move. Pain stopped him. "Don't try to get up." The voice was familiar. Taiho turned his head and saw Jihun sitting beside the bed. His friend looked tired but healthy. The wound in his side was healed. "You're alive," Taiho whispered. "So are you, you idiot." Jihun's eyes were wet. "You had 17 wounds. You lost half your blood. The doctor said you should have died 10 times over." "But I didn't." "No, you didn't." Jihun shook his head. "You stubborn bastard." Over the next few days, Taiho learned what had happened. The combined fleet had broken the Keth blockade. The Battle of Nova Prime was the largest space engagement in galactic history. Ships from 12 different species had fought side by side, united by the story of one human soldier and 2 alien children. The Keth Dominion was in full retreat. Their losses were devastating. The war had turned in a single day, and it was all because of him. "They want to give you medals," Captain Sora told him during a video call. "Every species in the Alliance wants to honor you. The Novans want to give you a planet. An actual planet, Taiho. Your own world." Taiho laughed. It hurt, but he laughed. "I don't want a planet." "Then what do you want?" He thought about it. "I want to see the kids. I want to know they're okay." They were more than okay. 3 days later, Empress Valira herself came to his room. She walked in without guards, without ceremony. She wore simple clothes, not royal robes. She looked like any mother might look, tired and grateful and overwhelmed with emotion. Behind her came Lyra and Mira. The twins ran to his bed. They climbed up and hugged him, carefully avoiding his bandaged wounds. They were crying. He was crying. Even the Empress was crying. "Thank you," Valira said. Her voice broke on the words. "Thank you for my children. Thank you for giving them back to me." Taiho didn't know what to say. He held the girls and let them hold him. "I want to repay you," Valira continued. "Tell me what you want, anything. Lands, titles, wealth. Name it, and it is yours." Taiho looked at Lyra and Mira. They looked back at him with their 4 eyes full of love and trust and something that felt like family. "I don't want anything," he said. "That is not possible. In Novan culture, a debt like this must be just..." Taiho paused. He thought about what mattered to him, what really mattered. "Just let me know they're okay. Send pictures sometimes. Let me know they're growing up happy. That's all I want." Valira stared at him for a long moment. Then she smiled, a real smile, full of warmth and wonder. "You are a strange creature, Sergeant Kang." "I'm human. We're all a little strange." He stayed in the medical bay for 2 more months. The twins visited him every day. They brought him Novan fruits and sweets. They told him about their lessons and their dreams. They drew pictures and left them on his walls until the room looked like a gallery of child art. Lyra was learning to be a leader. She was attending council meetings with her mother, watching and learning. She told Taiho she wanted to be like him when she grew up, someone who protected people no matter what. Mira was becoming an artist. Her drawings had gotten better. She drew everything: the palace, the gardens, the stars. But her favorite subject was still the same: a tall human holding hands with 2 small aliens. When Taiho was finally healed, he returned to human space. He was offered every position, every honor, every reward the Alliance could give. He turned them all down. He just wanted to go home. He settled on a small human colony called New Haven. It was a quiet place with green hills and blue skies. He bought a small house and started growing vegetables. He lived simply. He lived peacefully, but he was never alone. Every week, a transmission arrived from Nova Prime. Videos of Lyra giving her first public speech, images of Mira's latest paintings, messages from the twins themselves, calling him Uncle Taiho and asking when he would visit. He watched them grow up through those messages. He saw Lyra become a diplomat, traveling to other worlds to build peace. He saw Mira become a famous artist, her works displayed in museums across the galaxy. He saw them fall in love, get married, have children of their own, and every time something important happened, they told him first. On the wall of his small house, Taiho kept two drawings. They were the first ones Mira had given him back when she was a scared child in a war zone. The paper was old now, the colors faded, but he would never take them down. One drawing showed a tall figure with 2 arms and 2 legs, a human. The human was surrounded by darkness, but he stood tall and unafraid. The other drawing showed the same human holding hands with 2 small figures. They were standing under a sky full of stars. Above them, in a child's shaky handwriting, Mira had written, "Humans protect. That is what makes them human." Taiho looked at those drawings every morning when he woke up. They reminded him why he had fought, why he had bled, why he had nearly died. Not for glory, not for honor, not for medals or planets or wealth. For 2 small hands holding his in the darkness. For the chance to show the galaxy that humanity's greatest weapon was not strength or violence. It was love. And that was enough. That would always be enough.